I know you have high expectations for him. I want you to talk to me about Yoshida. What do you think his ceiling is? Where do you see him going? Give me your first thoughts.
Well, first off, I want to make the bold claim. I think he's going to win AL Rookie of the Year going away. Like, I don't think it's going to be particularly close. I know Gunnar Henderson from the Orioles is, poised to put up a pretty hefty fight, and so is fellow Boston Red Sox player Tristan Casas. But I think Yoshida is just, I mean, he's kind of unfair. He's 30. He's played 7 years of pro ball already, but he's just a beast, man. And I think what people are kind of underselling is just how strong he is. Like, he can hit some nukes, and we saw him like flail at some bad pitches, or some nasty pitches rather, some bad pitches to hit in the WBC, and he just flicked them out for home runs that would have been gone at Fenway, have been right down the pesky pole, or right past the pesky pole. He's a strong dude, and what I think separates him from a lot of the other Japanese stars that have come over, namely in recent years, like Yoshi Tsutsugo, where he kind of flopped over here in the States, and people are kind of draw those comparisons because you never really know with those guys. But anyway, Yoshida's not a slugger. That guy is making his living not swinging for the fences every single time to the plate. He's trying to slap the ball the other way. He's trying to drive gaps, and his natural strength helps him get to 20, 25 home runs. I don't know if he will, get to the 25 part. I'd probably predict him in the 18 to 21 range, but that dude is not going to have as big of an issue translating to the major league level as some people are letting on. And you saw in the World Baseball Classic as well.
That was mainly my biggest takeaway when they first signed him. I was listening to sports radio live when they signed this guy, and the immediate first reaction was, this guy didn't strike out a lot. Like, this guy's going to hit for average. And I like that. I know that there's been some debate as to where they want to slot him in the order. I personally would love to see him at the top. I like a guy on base as soon as Devers comes up to the plate if he's hitting second, or even if he's hitting third. Figure out what you will if you don't want to go lefty-lefty to start the lineup. I love the fact that Yoshida's, I don't want to say a dinosaur, because that's not true, but he's not, like you said, he's not the classic swing for the fences guy. He'll hit for average. He doesn't strike out a lot. And I feel like, I mean, this is very biased in my brain, only because the Red Sox were god-awful last year. Felt like there were a lot of strikeouts in key moments for last year's team. There was a reason, like, the pitching staff was terrible, but once they actually did pitch well every couple of days, you could not score runs because you weren't getting timely hits. I'm hoping that he can change that. I know one guy doesn't do it all, but that was my favorite part about Yoshida, is he will hit for average.
Yeah, and I think that's something that the Red Sox prioritized in the offseason, was getting guys that put up professional at-bats and don't strike out a lot. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I remember looking back when they signed Yoshida and then they signed Justin Turner, who's another guy who doesn't strike out a ton. I know he's one of your favorite players in the league.
Yes!
I think he's your favorite, right?
Yeah, he's right up there, yeah.
He's up there, yeah. So, I mean, these are guys that don't strike out. They don't chase. They are really tough to get to swing and miss. They'll foul off a ton of pitches. They'll work counts, and they're all kind of the same kind of hitter. I think Turner's is closer to a slugger at this stage of his career. He's still a guy who doesn't strike out, but he's closer to, like, all right, if he's not hitting home runs, he's not really that valuable to you. But like, Verdugo's impossible to strike out. I think he was like 6th in the league last year in strikeout rate. Impossible to strike out. Yoshida would have finished, I think, like in the top 8. Devers is not an easy guy to strike out, mostly because he never sees 2 strikes because he's always swinging on the first 2 pitches.
Yeah.
And then Turner's not easy to strike out. Kike's not easy to strike out, although you'd think he struck out more often than he does. The only guy in the lineup really that you'd think would strike out a lot, and he will strike out a lot, is Adam Duvall. But you needed the guy that kind of replaces Trevor Story's power production, and they kind of had to flail and go after a guy like Duvall to replace that righty power bat. But this lineup is a lot better than I think people give it credit for. Last year, I mean, there's a lot of talent, a lot of flashy names that are gone, like JD and Xander. But the additions of Turner, Yoshida, Duvall, like, these are guys that are accomplished MLB vets. Like, Duvall led the league in runs batted in a couple of years ago. He had a ton of home runs with Atlanta in 2021. And, well, I guess he was with Miami that year too. But anyway, these are some good big league players that they brought in. I know Turner is probably only going to be a 1-year deal. Duvall is only a 1-year deal, so you're going to have to refill those slots in a year or so. But this is a very solid lineup that I think will surprise some people. The key for this roster is going to be the pitching staff.